Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Filio. I have the Matilda Swanson Gallery located in Clarksburg, Ontario. Today's guest for In Conversation With is gallery artist Susan Lapp. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
So, Susan, can you please describe to us who is Susan Lapp? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Do you have any formal training? Anything pertinent you'd like to share with me and your fans?
My fans, well, that's a lot of questions.
Oh,
I can try if I can remember them. No, don't be silly. See, the silly, sensitive things coming up. I was born and raised in Montreal. A great place to grow up, just full of culture and peoples and language and food and laughter, and was a great place to grow up. I also grew up on a little tiny lake, um, and that's where I learned to really love the wilderness and get out into nature, and really what all my art is about. I could imagine anything anywhere. I always saw stuff in the clouds. I saw, oh my God, driving out of the cottage on the dark tree lined, it would scare me because there were like evil boogeymen in there and they scared the heck out of me. They're just shadows and trees. So my imagination was always very vivid. I have a Bachelor of Music. I went to university for music and a classically trained musician. And 20 years ago, I started painting with a music colleague, and I never stopped. I'm self-taught in my art and painting, and I've been now full-time for 20 years as an artist, and have shown all over Canada and in the States. So music and art is part of my being always.
So you grew up in a family of artists.
Yes.
Did you struggle with finding your own creative voice? I assume it must have been both very inspiring and both very daunting to be surrounded by such creativity.
I never thought it was daunting. I never thought it was hard. It was just really part of our life. My father was a professional artist, architectural renderer. My mother was a great violinist and artist. So it was just part of us. We were never pushed to do it or, criticized for doing anything. It really was just what I thought I would always do, was music. So you asked me what my favorite subject in school was. Music. Am I good at anything else? No, never thought I was. Smart girl. But I went into music. So no, it wasn't daunting at all. I watched my aunt, as I said, was an amazing artist. She did everything. When I was a little girl, I remember going to her apartment. She lived on an upstairs in downtown Montreal over a factory, windows, 4 sides, 20-foot high ceilings, and you would walk in and her walls were covered with feet of canvases. And, she
Wow.
would do batik, and she danced, and she did theater,
Wow.
and she painted, and she was this marvel of a woman. I remember one day asking my father, why doesn't Aunt Pam have children and a house? Like, what's wrong? So she was this amazing creative woman that also taught me a lot.
Did she ever get married?
No,
No.
no.
Her first love was her craft.
Yes, she was a free spirit, that woman.
Amazing. Sounds like her and I would probably get along very well.
Probably. Yeah, she took off to England for a little trip, and she decided that she liked it, so she stayed for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, came
Amazing.
back when she felt like it.
What comes first? The words, the poems, or the paintings? And can you
Oh,
tell
the
us
paintings.
the
The
paintings come
paintings
first?
always come first, yes.
Sorry,
As
can you
I'm
explain to
as
us?
I'm creating them, I feel a story, something that I've felt in the past, that's coming out in the scene, in the picture, what it makes me feel like when I'm doing it. And the poetry really just naturally comes. It's not really very edited. But it's always the painting first, and the story, poetry just evolves.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What's very consistent about your work is the way viewers respond to it. So they generally stop dead in their tracks, and they spend quite a bit of time soaking it in and getting lost in it. Everyone has a very different idea what the painting's about, what it depicts, where it is, what it's supposed to be. Your paintings have a very ethereal, dreamlike state quality to them. How does this happen?
I love the intimacy of a painting, of a feeling. A painting to me has to have you evoke something in you that's your own personal memory, emotion. And I always try to create that when I'm painting, because I don't have a scene in my head. So because I don't have a scene or a photograph that I'm looking at, um, their feelings all just morphed into it. And so I want the viewer to see it in their own way. So the abstraction of, and there always has to be sort of light going into it, and that you can disappear into it. It's very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the viewer to be emotionally affected.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, and constantly noticing something new. A gal who bought one of your pieces from us, she has it in her dining room, and so she sits there and stares at it all day, every day, while she's working, while she's eating, and she just keeps falling more and more and more in love with it, and notices new things constantly, and she's had it for years now. I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years. And she falls more and more in love with it, notices new things in it, means something new to her every day. And I don't know a lot of artists who have that effect. um, and even for myself, I notice something new every day, and it grabs me a different way depending on my own mood. Yeah, I think that's
It's really
very
nice to hear.
oh.
Really nice to hear. Thank you. I want that. That's what I want. And there are, I don't know, there might be 20 layers on a painting, because they take me months to, like the big ones will take me up to 6 months to complete, because one day I'll just stare at it and there's nothing going on it. I keep putting layers on it until I feel a story is in it. And I see everything as if it was complete realism, even though I know it's not.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about your collage work, the new series, actually?
Oh, my happy girls.
Yeah.
The happy girls were a wonderful, what does Bob Ray say? A happy little, a happy. Oh, I love puzzles. Actually, I loved puzzles when I was a little kid. Puzzles are awesome because you're having to use your imagination and, geometry, and you have to do everything to get a puzzle. And so for many years, I did the mixed media with the piano strings, and the happy girls were not a mistake, but one day I was doing a beautiful painting on Mylar, and in a big piece, I saw a beautiful dress. And I thought, I have to cut it out. And so the happy girls started because I started cutting up my paintings again. Very abstractly, I would just look at it and see a shape. And so they actually probably take me, I don't know, 50 hours to complete a happy girl.
I bet.
Again, they're just puzzles. I can look at a piece, nothing is formulated. nothing's formulated.
Mhm.
They're all just a puzzle that slowly comes together. And the happy girls came while I'm doing research actually on my mother. And so the happy girls are just depictions of our childhoods, mothers watching their daughters. Some have antique dresses on, or they all have hats and bonnets, and they're very whimsical, and so many people are loving those. I hope that when I get back, you can get some in the gallery. They're really well sought after. Grandparents name them, parents name them. I've had so many wonderful stories that people have told me that they know who I painted. Like I painted their daughter or their granddaughter, and they named them
Wow.
for me. So again, they're really
Wow.
personal and really special.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I've had Hannah. Um, let's see, Hannah. What else? Abigail, of course. What else? Oh, so many people, they all have names because they've all named them for me. Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
That's really quite something. Normally, I mean, oftentimes figurative work um, is a little more difficult to, I don't want to use the word sell, but it's a little more difficult for people to relate to because it is so personal. It's a person that's depicted, and people can't relate to it as easily as a landscape. So it's interesting to be hearing that so many people are relating to these happy little girls, or happy little, is it a happy accident? Happy little accident,
It
Bob
was
Ross would say.
the first one was, and then I fell in love with her, and I had to make more. So yeah, all the beautiful profiles of the little girls, and yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Um, One thing that comes to mind when I think of you are moments. How deeply you feel, appreciate, and also recognize a moment. The word moment is also often used in your titles.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It
what?
is the name of my CD.
Yes, and the name of your CD. What does the word moment mean to you?
That you live in that time. You remember that time, that special, whether it be good or bad, happy, sad, they all mean something. They're all part of your life and create your personality and create your story and create moving forward. And so every moment, if you live in every moment, there isn't a future that you can count on. I've never actually made a life plan in my life, like a 5-year plan. I don't know what that is. I don't plan a painting. I don't plan. It's much more fun to live in every moment when you just don't know what's going to happen because you haven't planned it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't plan anything, and I make it up as I go along. I do write out a to-do list for what I hope to achieve during that day, but it rarely happens
Right.
in the order, or new things come up, and or I move certain things to a different day, or I don't even end up doing it at all. Um, because I think I am almost always in the moment, and that can be a detriment also when it does come to planning for the future as a business owner. And
If you're in the moment, you're much more spontaneous.
yes.
And as an artist, that creates a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
Uh, it always works out. It's something's always better
Hmm.
when it's spontaneous. And I think that every artist would probably agree with that.
Hmm. With
I
or
think
crazy.
the special things happen in the moments that you haven't planned,
Yes.
right? The happenstances, the living in that moment, in that spontaneity, that, yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
no sense of disappointment
No, that's right.
because you had no expectation in the first place.
No, Nope. Most people are disappointed with the expectations that they put on themselves or others possibly,
Mhm.
and then you don't have any. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, so you're currently still in Alberta due to the COVID-19 outbreak. You were supposed to be back home in Guelph a while ago. Can you share with us what you've been working on and what creative pursuits may be percolating?
I have been doing a lot of writing for new works when I get home, for poetry. I, if I had a plan, I really would love to, besides the 8-hour composition, create a book called The Happy Girls, and that I find other women who would look at a girl and connect with her and write a story of their life, an hour, a day, an event that goes with the Happy Girls. And I think it would be a beautiful book. And that is a project that I have in my mind that I'm working on. So combining art and words, but not necessarily all of mine, because I'm not really a writer. And I think having personal stories shared in a book with art would be really wonderful.
What do you mean you're not a writer? What does that
I,
mean?
I don't know. Okay. I'm a new writer. I'm a writer. So I'm doing a lot of writing. And I haven't painted. I couldn't during the beginning of COVID-19. Everybody was,
Mhm,
it's just too hard. And now what I love is that people aren't talking about it all the time anymore. It's just becoming the new normal. It's
mhm.
not the first thing on everybody's mind coming out first.
We're
Um,
adapting.
yes. But where I am here, I don't have a space to sprawl out and paint or spill. So I would be limited to very small works, and I'm not really a small painter. Um, so the writing and music, well, I've made some videos. You can find them on YouTube, Susan Lapp. They're, yeah, have been watched a lot. They're lovely. And so, but the Happy Girls are something that I want to really continue with and create a book. I've had enough women and artists and young artist women telling me, you know how they tell you what you have to do, right? I have to create a book of poetry and the Happy Girls because people need it. So they say they've connected so much to so many people, the Happy Girls.
Wow. And how
Mhm.
many happy girls are there?
Oh, I think I've made 66.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
um, a lot. I've made a lot, surprising myself. And the ones that I have, yeah, I don't have very many left in the studio at home because they sell quite quickly at
Mhm.
shows, and they are originals. So I have made prints of some. It's the first time I've ever made a print because they were so
Wow.
popular, and they're really, because they come out, they're so sweet. They're lovely. So yeah.
Interesting. Do you have a question for me?
Wow. Well, no, I didn't have a question for you, but if I had one, it's how much you really are enjoying this time of rest in COVID-19. The gallery's closed, but you still have people who you can connect with, who are connecting with you, and they're seeing you and the videos, and so you get to share all the artists with them through this, whereas before they don't know who we are. So it's really wonderful. Are you enjoying yourself?
I very much am enjoying myself. I'm finally having the opportunity to work on projects that have been on the back burner for 7 or 8 years, such as these videos. I
Right.
initially had the idea of doing it in person, of course, not online or yeah, not virtually. But yeah, I'm enjoying it for myself, the process of it, the learning. I'm enjoying showcasing the artists. Here we go,
Yeah.
throwing you out there, and for the world to see and to enjoy and to get to know, and also
And
connect.
don't forget about us while COVID-19 is on. We're still
Yes,
all, thinking of new things. I
yes,
think all of your audience should be awaiting with bated breath all the new things that we're going to come out with, because we've all been in our studios or all been alone for a while, and you're creating new things.
yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the new works that are being created, to reading what writers are coming up with, musicians. It's such a creative time right now, and artists are always the ones who write history and who record history in a less political or socially correct way, we'll say, and on a more emotional, sensitive, and ethereal level, and a more a more humanesque level. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of this, and also us as a human race. Um, Hopefully, we've learned quite a bit from this,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't think the old way of a couple months ago was sustainable.
Well, I hope we don't all fall back to the old ways, because
I
change
know.
is difficult for the human race, for
Yeah.
every individual. Change is hard. Somebody might change and you think, oh, so,
Yeah.
as soon as the stores open up and the restaurants open up, and
Yeah.
let's not forget all the kindness that all of us have been given and shared out. It's
Hmm.
a much nicer way of living,
Hmm.
and so many people appreciate that.
Yeah, and gaining appreciation and respect for the arts community, since everyone's reading, everyone's watching TV, movies, listening to music, or creating their own masterpieces themselves, and so
Mhm.
hopefully they gain a sense of appreciation and respect for the arts community, and show a little more support when we all sort of come out of this, and yeah,
So don't buy a new granite countertop and renovate your kitchen. Just buy a beautiful big piece of art, and
and no one will
it'll make you
notice
just
your crappy countertop.
exactly.
One of the things I wanted to add to was appreciation of moments, and how coming out of this, how I'm scaling back the gallery hours, booking by appointment only right now. It creates a more meaningful experience, it creates a moment more so than, oh, let's just walk in here because we're here in Clarksburg and let's just walk in and walk out.
Right.
It's more
I
purposeful.
agree.
The new Matilda Swanson art experience.
Well, it sounds great. It sounds really lovely and good for everybody. You're keeping everybody safe and healthy, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you brought up meeting Fred Neegan on the Missinaibi River.
It changed the art. I went home and started the girls,
Wow.
like the first girls, not the happy girls, but the women coming out of nature, because he was just
Oh.
Fred the Missinaibi man. It was such an experience being up there, and we were alone for so long, and it's so remote, and
Hmm.
we did that river.
Hmm.
And then we met him at the end, and I went home and I dreamt, not my forests or my trees, but women. I am the tree, like I am nature. He made me, I don't know, something happened. And so Fred, it's a good memory. Yeah. He was just the most, his spirit was incredible.
Hmm.
It was incredible.
I'll never forget him. And I went up north 2 years ago for his, it was my first time up north in a couple of years. And I went for his celebration of life. His grandson was my first kiss, my first boyfriend growing up. He grew up on that river with Fred up and down the river. So him and his brother know the river, that river, like the back of their hand,
Yeah.
thanks to Fred. And they're really one of the only ones left.
We didn't go below. We stopped at Mattice.
Oh, okay.
It was 170 kilometers.
Yeah,
Oh, what I
it's
do
not
for
for
my
the faint
husband.
of heart, that trek.
No, but I came back a warrior woman. Hence, the warrior women came out of my art. And art is for everybody. You just find the people that, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but that's because of Missinaibi. Yeah. The turning point, another turning point for me was that trip. So, where's my favorite place? The wilderness, because it changes me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting because that's where I grew up. I always struggle with, why don't I want to paint landscape? I have no interest in painting landscape. And I think it's because I grew up in the landscape, in the wilderness, that I don't feel like I can or should replicate it or attempt to, because I could never do it justice.
Oh, I fully understand that. I mean, I don't feel like I paint the wilderness because I paint feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people wonder what they're looking at and they stare so long, because I'm not painting I can't paint the wilderness. I don't want to. It's too good to paint.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting. Everybody's out here saying, oh, I can't wait to see, what you're going to paint, because you're going to paint the mountains. Never. The mountains are too I can't paint those. They wouldn't do it justice, and it would just be a thing. It's a mountain, but when I get to the small little ponds and the lakes and it's alive, I can paint that feeling.
Mm.
But I'm not going to paint the mountain, and you don't want to paint the Missinaibi because it's too big to paint, right?
Yeah, it's just it's huge. It's such a powerful body of water, powerful in so many ways. And until you actually experience it, as you did, you can't grasp it, the power that's in that water.
This scared me half to death sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, we were told never to go near the water because so many people died.
And there are horror stories. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Good adventures. So what's really interesting is that when you ask me, why I'm an artist or how did I get there in my childhood, we were just arts. That's all. I didn't know I was athletic, or that I had an athletic body, or that I could do all that stuff, or that I was, strong, or we just were artsy fartsies. Till David came along and says, what? You could do this and this and this. And now I have all these different experiences in my second half of life, Some are scary as shit, but they've taught me a lot. Like every time I come back from one of those, and, when you said what was my favorite, what was a big memory, that is a huge memory. Not childhood ones. That's a whole other question. You're talking about sort of now that might affect your art.
Mm-hmm.
These trips, every one, I come back different.
Mm-hmm.
You learn something about yourself because you're challenged. You're challenged, and you don't go out to a restaurant when you're tired at night, and you don't have dry clothes. And a lot of people don't get that. I mean, I think that everybody in high school, that should be a course.
Mm-hmm.
To challenge yourself that you think you can't, but you really can.
Everyone up north, if something awful happened, didn't matter who it happened to, everyone would be there for them.
Yeah.
Supporting them in whatever way that is. And it was all about enjoying the moment. They could care less. They had people up there have tons of money. and you would never know it because they don't care about that. They just want to congregate in the garage, have a beer, listen to some music with their neighbors, just have a good time, enjoy the moment, go fishing, go do whatever. Okay, what do we feel like doing today? Very different from Southern Ontario.
Yeah.
And
That's why I love going on trips every year for 10 days, because you have nothing and you don't need anything. You don't need all that stuff. Well, I said, right, don't go buy a new granite countertop and a new kitchen sink. Just go buy a painting because it'll mean more.
mm-hmm. It's
Right? If you get into your soul, it'll mean more.
It's life on your wall.
Yeah. One is stuff and one is part of it. It can mean so much to you that you smile every time you walk by.
Exactly.
Well, there's still a really nice, okay, everybody who's listening. I'm going to plug a great Susan Lapp painting, that 6-footer upstairs, that beautiful 6-footer. It's very genteel and soft and serene and not happy, bold, and necessarily colorful, but it's a really beautiful piece. And I hope that somebody will come in and fall in love with that one. That one in particular. I love that.
It's hanging above a gray sofa right now, and it looks phenomenal. Well, thank you, Susan, for spending the time sharing your colorful world with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Sarah.
Well, thank you.
It's always a pleasure, and it's lovely to talk to you and see you in person.
All right. Well, stay safe and take care.
You too. You too.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.